Welcome to the tutorial on how to use the CAN logger and save recordings. Using the CAN logger is easy. Most often, just press Run. And we can see here all messages on the CAN bus. Let us pause here so we can look at what we see. The timestamp shown is seconds since the start of the logging or cleared. The CAN ID is the address of the message. This shows which node either sent or received this message. Sometimes it might be difficult to understand these numbers, so to make it easier, we can also see the node it belongs to in the node column. The node shown here will be the number assigned to the node, regardless of the CAN ID, meaning if the node is sent both on SDO1 and SDO2, the CAN ID will be different in each message, but the node will show the same number, normally the SDO1 ID. The counter is how many messages has been transmitted or received on this CAN ID since the log last was cleared. DLC is number of bytes in the message. Data is the actual values, where each little segment represents a byte shown in hexadecimal. Each sort of message is built differently, but for example in a SDO message, the first byte is the command, second and third is the index, the fourth is the subindex, and the last four is the actual value if it's a response. This might be difficult to read with the hexadecimals and the byte order and such. In our CAN logger you often get help. In the last column we get a more explanation in plain text. Any SDO request and response is shown with the parameter's name and value. We also get explanation with the NMT, emergencies and heartbeats. The only message not explained from the CAN open protocol is the PDO. Okay, but what are we using this for? A common usage is for a service user to record a session. Maybe errors occur or a vehicle is not behaving like expected. Then you might want to record the CAN bus, so the log can be sent to someone for analyzing. For a standard recording, this is very simple. Just press Start Recording. But as you can see, I have not set up how to record before. This only needs to be done once, but can just as easily be changed later if needed. The only thing that has to be chosen is in which folder the logs should be saved to. The rest you can leave it as it is if you are uncertain. As default, the name will be your vehicle file name plus CAN log. Also, the default is to start on a new file on each recording, so each file will increment a number starting from 001. When recording a longer session, it is recommended to separate into smaller files. Something might go wrong or the files might get too big. As I mentioned, a common use for this is to send a log to an engineer or similar. Often they use a more powerful analyzing tool like Canalizer. And here the default is to save this log in the BLF format, and that can be loaded into Canalizer. If you want, the log can be saved just as plain text and be viewed just as it does in this logger. So, the final name is shown here. Just press OK, and we can try to record again. We see here in small font that the recording is active. As soon as we are pleased, just press stop and save recording. We don't get any confirmation, but the file is ready in your folder. We can start directly to record a new one, and we can see that the incrementation number is increased by 1. So we are now recording to 002. Let's change the incrementation time to something really low. This should be 3 seconds. Press OK. Now when we start recording, we will record 3-second logs, each saved into a separate file. And we can see here the number ticking up. If it's something small, the save log list might be enough. This will save the visible list into either a BLF file or text file. This only shows up to 20,000 messages. Depending on system and the bus load, this might be just a few seconds. Here we can open the settings panel. And here we can filter what messages to display. And you can adjust the filter in many ways. The top part is the easiest, but it might be a lot of signals if it's a vehicle with many nodes. Here we can just click what we want to see or remove. It displays the actual CAN ID here, but to help understand it, it has the node and message type displayed here. Maybe we just want to see the SDO response, for example. And when you are recording now, only the checked signals will be recorded. If we want, we can filter by the CAN ID. This is a common feature in many CAN loggers. Here we can either pass or stop any CAN IDs within the limits. Let's stop any message above 580. As we can see here, the list here is updated. Everything over 580 is stopped. If we now also set a top limit, let's say 600, we can now see we are allowing signals over 600, and we are now only stopping any SDO response. If we press pass all instead, now we only allow signals with the ID 580 up to 600. In this case, we now only see the SDO response. Here we can exclude different protocols, like the CAN open. CAN open messages can also be controlled on specific types, such as SDO, PDO, or NMT. If you also have filtering on CAN ID, you might want to remove it. If I only want to show PDO with this, I need to remove the previous filtering, because now both are active and everything is blocked. Another feature located here next to the Run Pause button, we can select Fixed Position. This will only show the latest message for each CAN ID, and that might be useful sometimes. If we also change the timestamp setting here to delta, instead of time passed since start, we now see the time elapsed since the last message on the same CAN ID arrived. We can now see at what interval we are receiving these PDOs. Now when we are using delta time, we can also use filtering on the time. Let's show only signals with at least 400 milliseconds interval. And we now see only the PDO4 here, sending on 500 millisecond intervals. But this is all on how to use the CAN logger and save recordings. Thank you for watching. Please contact us if you have any questions, want to purchase our products, or have any feature requests.